Hello and welcome to Gardening with Ben's award-winning podcast, as voted by Grow Your Own magazine and by my followers and listeners. So if you're new to the podcast, make sure you click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts, listen back to all our previous episodes, sit back, grab a brew and let's enjoy today's episode. Hello everyone and welcome to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. Well, it's been a fantastic day today. It was absolutely freezing cold down on the allotment today. So bitterly cold. But I got the jobs done which I wanted to get done on the plot. If you've seen my Instagram post, you will see that I've cleared the front entrance of my plot. I've removed all the wood, I've removed all the weeds, I've built some new flower beds where I'm going to have fantastic colour come springtime. Just you wait for that. And throughout the summer I'm planting loads and loads of flowers this year. It's going to be phenomenal, my plot. So much colour, so many insects, so many bees buzzing round. It's going to be the best place to look on the internet for best allotments. Not blowing my own trumpet, but I am putting so much effort into this year's plot. It's going to look stunning. There's so much more work to do, believe me, but I'm getting there and I'm getting on top of it. So I've cleared around my fruit trees now. I've cleared around my entrance. I'm going to be clearing down my walkway to my main part of the plot next. So that is the tasks that I need to be doing. But there's so much work to be getting on with. It's unbelievable how much work that needs to be done, because once I've cleared all my plots, then I need to start clearing down all my polytunnel, getting all that clean and tidied. Then I need to work on getting my shed finished, ready for sowing my seeds, which will be massive this year because of how many flowers that I'm going to be planting. I'm going to be growing everything from seed wherever possible and utilising the full space of my allotment. It's going to look beautiful, and trust me, there's going to be so many photos appearing of all the flowers what I'm growing this year. But we are talking today about what seeds to sow in January. So it goes off everything what I've said really, but we're going to be looking at what seeds to be sowing, what you can plant on the allotment and in the garden. I do like to share these on a monthly basis so that you know what you can be sowing, etc, etc. Obviously this is for the UK, going off the UK time frames, but if the same time frames lead for you, then obviously you can go off this information as well. But if you're not in the UK, feel free to still listen and you may get some tips along the way. So we're going to be starting off with what to plant in the vegetable garden. So if you've not got a kitchen garden, why not look about getting one, because it is so good to have a kitchen garden and try growing your own vegetables. And obviously we're at the beginning of the year, so now is the time to be looking at growing a kitchen garden in your garden. You don't have to have a lot of space. You can just utilise little areas and stuff like that and just try growing a few seeds, whatever takes your fancy. So we're going to be talking about what to grow in a kitchen garden first, so sit back, relax and enjoy today's episode. So the first thing what you can be sowing around now is broad beans, and if the ground is frosty and hard and you can't get them in the ground, why not start some off in pots in a shed or in a greenhouse where it's a bit more warmer and there's a chance of them germinating better and quicker. And sometimes when they grow in pots as well, you've got them to get that extra chance in growing, because obviously if you grow them in the ground, they're open to mice and they're open to the birds eating the tops off them, whereas if you grow them in pots first, you can get them growing stronger and you can plant them individually where you want them to go. So sometimes it's best off starting them in pots if you're wanting to space them out evenly and for them to make them look good. So the next up is celery. So celery needs to be started this month because it takes such a long time to grow. You wouldn't think so, but it takes so long to grow. And the only way to start celery off at this time of year is to start it on a windowsill, because it is warm enough. They won't germinate in a cold greenhouse, so you need to start them off around now in a windowsill. Onions. If you're wanting to grow onions from seed, some people grow them from sets, some people grow them from seed. I tried both last year. Seed possibly did best than sets for some bizarre reason. I don't understand the difference, don't ask me that question, but seeds seem to do better. So you can, if you're wanting nice big onions, now is the time to be starting those off. Again, start them off on a windowsill or a heater propagator to get them to germinate, because they need that temperature to get to the right temperature for them to start germination. Potatoes. A lot of people on Facebook and Instagram I'm seeing sharing all their orders for potatoes, what they're ordering, what they're buying, whether they're going to the garden centre to buy them, but everybody's getting their potatoes in, because a lot of people like to chit them first. Some people don't, some people do. Another thing between seed onions and set onions, the same goes for potatoes. Some people chit, some people don't. I always chit mine and I get a good crop. So when you're chitting them, if you get an egg carton, you can just place the potatoes individually with the eyes facing upwards so that they start sending out their little sprouts. And it needs to be in a dry location, not somewhere damp or wet, because it'll make them rot. So if you're wanting to start some potatoes, get looking now, get ordering them, go to the garden centres. Most places will have their seed potatoes in now. But some people don't grow them from seed potatoes, some people grow them from the supermarket ones. My dad did last year. He grew them in tubs and they did fantastic. He had a massive crop from them. So obviously seed potatoes haven't had all the pesticides and stuff on them and sprayed, whereas shop bought ones are obviously full of pesticides and sometimes they can spread diseases easier. So that is the reason why a lot of people grow them from seed. So what herbs can you plant on this on round now? You can start literally all herbs off at this time of year. If you're wanting to make a herb garden in your garden, creating a little patch of land with some herbs in it for you to keep picking for your meals, you can start them off now, but you will need to start them off in a windowsill where it's warm and dry and light to help them to germinate. So what fruit can you plant at this time of year? It's still good to be planting fruit at this time of year. You need it when the ground is damp and wet, because it'll help them take root and it'll help them to grow and get started. So any fruit trees can be grown at this time of year and planted. Remember to water them well though in the first year for them to get established. Raspberries, you can plant your raspberry canes now, either summer fruiting raspberries or autumn variety of raspberries. You must have heard me talk millions of times between the difference between summer and autumn raspberries. Hopefully everybody knows that by now, but if not, feel free to check out one of my other podcasts and listen to them, as I think you'll get sick of me talking about them now. And rhubarb. Who loves rhubarb crumble? It's so expensive to buy in the supermarket. It's unbelievable. The price of 2 sticks from a supermarket. Hence why I've got 16 plants and I give it away all to my family. But now is the time to be planting your rhubarb crowns. You can also grow them from seed, and it is really, really easy to grow rhubarb from seed. And obviously it's a lot cheaper and you'll get more plants from it. But do not pull it for 2 years. Let it settle in, let it take root and let it get growing. So don't go pulling any rhubarb in the first year if you plant a crown. You may be tempted, but just do not do it. Right, what flowers need to be sown? And I need to be listening to this myself, because I need to get sowing some flowers and get them growing. So what flowers can you sow this month? Snapdragons. Now those are fantastic for the bees. I'm going to try growing some snapdragons I think this year. I've never tried it before, but they do need to be started now. Start them on a windowsill or a heater propagator. They need that temperature for them to germinate. Sweet peas. Again, do what I did and I get a little Tupperware tub, put a layer of kitchen roll in it, dampen it, lay the sweet peas on it, close the lid on the Tupperware box. They'll start germinating, and literally you'll have 100% germination rate. Then you can plant those all into plant pots once they've started sprouting, and they will grow. Don't plant them outside yet, as the frost will kill them off, and the snow. Don't plant them out when it's later on and it's warmer and the chance of frost has passed, because you don't want to kill them off. Lobelia. You can be starting your lobelia off now this month. Again, start them off in a heated greenhouse or a windowsill, and impress your neighbours with those fantastic hanging baskets and pots. So that is everything that you can be sowing this month for your garden, your allotment, to start the year off. Really, a lot of people can't wait until they start sowing all the seeds. I certainly can't. I've planted my onion seeds, they're already sown. I've planted a lot of herb seeds, and yeah, it's gonna look fantastic, my plot. I keep saying that, but I really am believing in myself this year. I'm believing that I'm gonna have a fantastic allotment, and there's still so much for me to get done on the plot, so much to get started. I'm looking at getting some more fruit plants on my plot. That is the plan for this year. So I'm looking around, pricing things up. Obviously, if you keep listening to these podcasts, it'll pay towards buying them, so you know where your listening's going towards. Everything that I get from this podcast goes back into the allotment, so do keep on listening to them. If you've not clicked that subscribe button, make sure you click it, and then you'll get notified when new podcasts come up. So yeah, that is everything what you can sow in January. So I hope you've enjoyed it. As always, do remember to keep smiling, keep gardening, and keep listening to Gardening with Ben's podcast. Until next time, see you later. So thank you for listening to today's episode of Gardening with Ben. We hope that you've enjoyed this episode. Remember to do click that subscribe button to stay up to date with all our podcasts. Feel free to share them on your Instagram stories so that it spreads the word about my podcast and we get lots more listeners. Feel free to check out my social media sites, Facebook and Instagram as well, Gardening with Ben, and also my YouTube channel, to stay up to date with all my handy videos, how-to videos, and sharing my tips and advice. And feel free to check the link as well in the description for my Gardening with Ben t-shirts. Lots of funny gardening design t-shirts in there for you to purchase at great prices too. So thanks again, and as always, remember, keep smiling and keep gardening.